Hello guys, welcome back or welcome if you're new. It's Christian from Emotions in Wine. New place, as you see. As I mentioned in my message, in my post, I relocated, so that's why I jumped 1 week. So this is the first video afterwards, and it's something special as you've seen. So the first, my iconic red wine, which is something particular, honestly famous in the past, but uh, first of all, Merlot for me is the most important grape from the Bordeaux ones because it's the most elegant, even if majority are on the Cabernet Sauvignon. But Merlot is, just think about Petrus, just think about Massetto. Between the most expensive wines in the world and the most awarded and most appreciated by the real connoisseurs. Merlot is giving more elegance and complexity than the Cabernet or other grapes. That's why he's very appreciated, but as hinted, is still underrated, especially from some regions like Friuli, Venezia Giulia, and northeast of Italy on the border with Slovenia and Slovenia itself. Why? Because for me, the terroir there is a bit more favorable. Merlot is early ripening. So if it's a bit cooler terroir, even the soil matters, of course, but the temperature, the conditions are the most important, helps to retain more freshness and to avoid those richer wines. Then is, of course, matter of winemaking. So when you harvest, how long you do the maceration and extraction, etc. But as we will see here, the extraction is quite long because it's still 26 days of maceration. But the wine is very elegant because of the terroir, first of all. So Merlot is the third most planted red grape in the world. So it's adapting very well. That's why it gives good wines in many places. But for me, at least talking about Europe, I tried several American, New World. Europeans are those that I know better and I appreciate better. In Italy, there are different places where it is doing well. For me, Tuscany is not the best region because it's a bit warmer, even if it's close to the sea. But Masseto is really close to the sea, while other regions may not be. They can have excursion nighttime, so it depends, of course, on the area. But in general, I see Friuli and Slovenia in particular, because Slovenia is a bit inner, more close to the mountains, so it's a bit cooler in general. Why, for me, this winery is really worth my iconic wines. Is the most famous, probably, Friuli winery in the world. Gianfranco Gallo, the owner, started in 78 to bottle. Then in 1990, he already started to do micro vinification, so single plots. That was really early days for all this kind of attention. He is considered one of the very best winemakers in Italy, and he knows a lot of things. If you check the website, the information about terroir, about soils, about every single vintage, you can find every single vintage, all the information about each wine. Most famous for the white wines, of course, Friuli, and himself Isonzo, so the less prestigious region because it's on the Isonzo River, mostly flat, so it's not Coglio Orientali on the hills inner. This is 20 kilometers from the sea and 30 from the mountains. There is the Bora wind from northeast cooling down, making excursion overnight. That helps a lot. The key is September, of course, but summers are getting warmer. But the most important is that in September they have a bit of rain and a bit of cooler winds. So even if it's on the flat, is still able to give great elegance, longevity. All his wines are that way. And this was a very famous red wine. That's why I put it even with a bit of heart, not just my iconic, because in the late 90s it was outstanding. Then I think he stopped to make it in 2000 something. I'm not sure if he uprooted the vineyard and replanted the same, or if he planted a new one somewhere else. That I'm not sure because it's not specified. In a new vineyard, so he had to wait. At the 8th year, he started to vinify, so the vines are still very young. That is a pity, but he restarted, of course, with more knowledge, more experience and everything, and his use of barriques, which is a characteristic of this winery, so really French style approach. Usually it's all new barriques, but he is buying only French barriques, so he's really fine-tuned in everything. So of course, this will not be yet able to give what it was giving in the late 90s. First, it was a bit cooler in those days, and second, the vineyard was older, but it's still an amazing Merlot, which needs to have more space, more talk about. Not just this one, even others in Friuli and in Slovenia as mentioned, but this in particular. So I start to pour, it's open already a couple of hours. I just checked, of course, as usual, that it was fine. So to give a proper presentation, Merlot Isonzo Voos di Ciamps 2017, 14 alcohol. Actually, it's a bit lower than 14. I saw the technical sheet, but we are about there. It's the first vintage after the new vineyard started. Now he's making every vintage. I saw 18, 19, 20, 21 for sure. Just to start, 0.6 kilos per plant. It's a high intensity plantation, 7,000 if I remember plants, but each one is delivering only 0.6 kilos, which is ridiculous. And that is the first step to make top quality. Then of course, winemaking, old vines help. That is not the case yet. So let's see how much complexity it can give. But the first impression I had at the taste was confirming my memories of the old days, because we are talking about 25 years ago. First of all, very high elegance. I remember that, and it's still on that style. So Isonzo is the most similar wine region in Friuli to Bordeaux, because there is the river, pebbles, quite flat, but of course there is a lot of variation in the soils because of the alluvial movements and then the glaciers in the age, so it's not all the standard. In fact, most on the pebbles with a bit of clay and other things are the white wines, while the vineyard of this Merlot has more clay on top and below silt, sand and limestone. So very mineral with this mix. And of course the roots dig down. Vinification is 26 days as hinted, maceration, fermentation with selected yeast, fermentation in still, then it goes into barriques for around 18 months. Then again in still, the assembling of all the casks in the for 8 months, and in the end 11 months of bottle refinement. Every vintage changed. So this is the usual thing I always repeat about interpreting. He is a top winemaker, so he knows even more than others the experience to interpret the vintage, the nature, the weather, everything. So the right harvest and the right interpretation are the key points. The values are all perfect because alcohol below 14, acidity was 5.4, which is quite good. So everything on point to have a age-worthy wine. So intense red and dark fruits. Yeah, quite a few different cherries, berries. The spicy is coming out immediately. I said is really in French style. So there is a lot of components from the oak, but well integrated always. Then he releases the wine after a few years. There is a lot already. So that is the first thing, because my first doubt was, I remember, I had great memories, but this new vineyard, maybe the first vintage, won't be that complex, but so far I cannot complain at all. I will do also next day tasting tomorrow, of course, in the end of the video. The minerality is marking. Then you have all these spices, nothing of the classic vanilla, those things, much more refined spices. I would say mostly peppery and spices like that, those. Also a hint of flinty, perfect tannin, quite gentle, but still there. Great acidity still, refreshing, cleaning the palate. This touch of sweet berries sensation, not too spicy, more the minerality and the freshness so far. So the spicy is not that present on the palate, more on the nose. But you get a bit of the peppery, something else there. Great length, very elegant also on the palate. So there is nothing out of point. Really, his style of looking for finesse is confirmed even here. So now it's turning a bit, so less the fruit, more spices, some tertiary notes also starting to come out, something hinting to earthy, things like that. All these we will see more in the tomorrow part. A hint of chocolate also, I would say. So already showing good complexity. And is perfect drinking window, but still long way to go. You can even sip it itself. Of course, it's a food-friendly wine. It's a perfect match for nice meats. Doesn't need big meats because it's not that full, but has a good structure, very cleaning with the freshness and minerality. The balance is great. So far, a great complexity, good persistence. So it's confirming the good memories. It's not cheap, it's expensive. This wine is about 60 euros retail in Italy. It's a great red from Friuli, is worth the price. As I hinted before, they tend to be still underestimated. For me, the Merlot is the best red wine that you can have in Friuli overall. There are at least 10 wineries between Isonzo, Coglio, and Colli Orientali making great Merlots. Slovenia, as I said, also very age-worthy and even cheaper in general. So let's see in tomorrow phase. 24 hours later, we are back. I pour it again. Sorry, first of all, for a bit of fine-tuning, lighting, everything also in the video process. Was a couple of very tough weeks. So it showed more complexity over yesterday night. And I forgot also to talk about the color, which is still very ruby. So really not showing aging. He says that the peak should be about 12 years after and over 20 years of shelf age, let's say. But here we are, as I said, in the drinking window, but still a long way to go. The peak will be later because there is still a lot of freshness, minerality, even the tannin is still there. So, and the tertiary notes are not that much. I hinted a bit yesterday, but didn't show much more. A bit more complexity, but not much on the tertiary. So it means that has still a long way to go. Now is less impactful the fruit. At first, you have more of the spices and some tertiary. Yeah, this mushroomy, more than earthy that I hinted yesterday, mushroomy, I guess now. So the fruit now is less on first stage. There is more the spicy and some tertiary. Chocolate reconfirmed. Still the mineral and touch of flinty like. So it's not that much evolved. As I said, young vines, so that has an influence. But I see a great future for this bottle also, but for the wine itself with the new vintages. This one can age well. I think we give the best in few years. I thought after 8 to find already more. Very lively. Yeah, some more chocolatey and other tertiary coming out, so it may still evolve more even tonight. Not a surprise, honestly. Refined overall all the time, even with these tertiary notes, everything is very delicate. Now the fruit is coming out again, also on the palate. Still that firm, fresh mineral, great length, less tertiary on the palate, still more fruit and spices. The other characteristics I don't find on the palate yet. So a bit more compression on the nose than on the palate. So it's a great wine. Coming back, very happy with that. I'm happy to talk about it, even if maybe now is not wow. We can say we see that it's still young vineyard, so that has something more to give in the coming years, especially on the complexity and a bit also on the depth. But it's already an outstanding Merlot. I keep repeating, Friuli Merlot and Slovenian Merlot, put on your radar if you love Merlot. Great expressions with huge aging potential. So I hope you enjoyed this video, guys. Like, subscribe, comment, support us as much as possible. We need to grow faster. Thank you and salute.